a new guy in the band this week.
If you want to stand, let's stand.
We got the whole world in our hands. 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 We have the power of spirit in our hands. We have the power of spirit in our hands. We have the power of spirit in our hands. We have the power in our hands. We got our brothers and sisters in our hands. We got our brothers and sisters in our hands. We got our brothers and sisters in our hands. We got their happiness in our hands. We have the strength to serve them in our hands. We have the strength to serve them in our hands. We have the strength to serve them in our hands. We have the strength right in our hands.
Stay standing and just think of the picture of holding the whole world in your hands. And we hold them in our hands, in our minds, in our hearts, and all spiritual gatherings we hold in this space of love and excitement for life. We hold Unity of Victoria, Unity of Windsor, and all Unity centers and churches that are meeting this morning. And we hold our all world leaders so that they may rise up in consciousness to a higher level of understanding and compassion for all that they do, for all of their responsibilities. And we also invite you to speak and whisper the name of anyone into this space that you would like to, that we can support in prayer. And what we know is that the universe, God, infinite intelligence, infinite love, has all of our intentions and raises those up for the highest and the greatest outcome. And so we say amen, and we keep singing.
We got the rivers and the mountains in our hands. We got the seas and the islands in our hands. We got the land and the skies right in our hands. We got the whole world in our hands. We have the life of the planet in our hands. We have brothers and sisters in our hands. We have the little bitty babies in our hands. We have the future in our hands. We got the whole world 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 in our hands.
Okay, so let's turn to someone around you, and I want you to say, today is a new day. Today is a new day. Today we sit in an infinite field of possibilities. Today we sit in an infinite field of possibilities. A field of infinite intelligence, a field of infinite intelligence, a field of harmonizing prosperity, a field where you are empowered. And that is better because you stopped by today. So we want to align with this energy and this power. And anyone who is here for the first time, please make sure you visit our first timers tables at the back of the room. And anyone that is live streaming and watching us this morning, we want to wish them well and say that all of this that we have said to each other is true about you as well. And so we sing.
All right, everyone put your hands together for this one. Can we do that? I know it's early. I know it's early. I got this joy, 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 joy down in my heart. Down in my heart. Down in my heart. I've got the joy, 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 joy down in my heart. Down in my heart to stay. I've got the unity, community down in my heart. Down in my heart. Down in my heart. I've got the music. spirit that is part of me down in my heart. Down in my heart to stay. I've got the love and faith and understanding down in my heart. Down in my heart. Down in my heart. I've got the love and faith and understanding down in my heart. Down in my heart today. I've got the blessings of the power of prayer down in my heart. Down in my heart. Down in my heart. I've got the blessings of the power of prayer down in my heart. Down in my heart to stay. I've got the happiness of peace and grace down in my heart. Down in my heart. Down in my heart. I've got the happiness of peace and grace down in my heart. Down in my heart to stay. I've got my family of unity down in my heart. Down in my heart. Down in my heart. I've got my family of unity down in my heart. Down in my heart to stay. Down in my heart to stay. Down in my heart to stay.
That is the truth. That is the truth. Okay, so truth or dare, which means, is this the truth, or do we dare to see it a little bit differently? So here's the phrase today, and I ran this by my Bob. Okay. The phrase is, nothing happens by accident. So I asked him, what do you think that means? And he said, well, I think that means that everything is planned, that there is a plan for everything. Do we have the expression up there, Hilda? Oh, there it is. Okay. And so I said, okay, so that makes sense. We can believe that nothing happens by accident. It's true on the surface, but we need to go a little bit deeper into it. And so Reverend Paul just talks about how this phrase makes the assumption that there is something organizing everything in my life so that it's all happening just as it's supposed to happen. And so he tells us to get over that, because this is another example of one power and one presence being misinterpreted to mean that God outside of us or God inside of us has a specific plan for each and every one of us, and it's going to go just like that. Whereas he would say that the plan is about our thoughts and our intentions and our choices and our actions. We take getting there to this plan. And so it's about us and what we put into motion. And so a better phrase would be, everything happens by intent. It doesn't just happen, it happens by intent. He writes, we are where we are because of the individual choices we make and the actions we take. And our job, I love this, our job is to choose to transform every situation into a meaningful growth experience. Yeah, that's not always easy, but our job is to choose to transform every situation into a meaningful growth experience. I want you to say that with me. Our job is to choose to transform every situation into a meaningful growth experience. So something happens this week and you're like, oh, this is just not what I want to see happening, and I can feel myself getting upset. Just go back into that space, breathe. Okay, so how can I turn this into a meaningful spiritual growth experience? Because it's here for me, it's not against me. And so everything happens by intent. And now we have our prayer.
Good morning, friends.
Morning.
I'm on? Yes. Okay. Unity's foundation is affirmative prayer. If you wish private one-on-one prayer, we have a prayer chaplain available to pray with you following today's service. And today's prayer chaplain is Nick in the back. Okay. And you can meet our prayer chaplain, Nick, in our prayer room after today's service. And for new people, just go into the fellowship room, up the stairs, and follow the hallway, and the room is actually right behind the screen here. and Nick will be waiting for you. For additional prayer for yourself or a loved one, please put their first name on a piece of paper and place it in our prayer box, which is up here on the table. Our prayer angels will pray over them for 30 days here, and then it will be sent to Silent Unit, to Unity Village, and prayed over there for an additional 30 days. Remember, 24 hours a day, you can call 1-800-NOW-PRAY to reach Silent Unity, where people have been praying with and for people for 130 years. And now a message from our daily word, and it's entitled, Time Enough. I have time enough for rest, work, pleasure, and prayer. At the end of a busy day, do I focus on appreciating what I achieved, or do I berate myself for those tasks I have yet to accomplish? The attitude in which I started my day has a great deal to do with the ensuing results. I create each day's experiences through the choices, large and small, that I make as the day unfolds. My storehouse of divine energy keeps me mentally focused. With a positive attitude, I affirm, I have time enough, wisdom enough, strength enough, and energy enough to do whatever is before me this day. As confidence in my creative power grows, I become clearer and calmer in each choice, and my day perfectly expresses my new consciousness. The time is fulfilled, and the kingdom of God has come near. Mark, chapter 1, verse 15.
We have a new song for you today that we wrote this week, and I hope you'll forgive me for reading the lyrics, but I don't remember them yet. Anyway, we know there's a lot of dog lovers here, and we know we have lots of opportunities in our lives to look to good role models. Coming to Unity certainly gives us a lot of energy and a lot of things to think about and trying to live a better life. But there's one person who keeps an eye on us, at least in my house, and it's somebody I've been very conscious of for a long time. I thought that maybe it was time to write a little song about my friend and how he helps me. I believe a dog can be man's best friend for sure. I bet that goes for women too, but the canine's love is pure. You may think the dog cannot take measure of a man, but if you truly know the dog, you know they surely can. I know my dog looks up to me, but I don't look down at him. Sees my life for what it is, and me for who I am. I'm sure he sees a better man than I can hope to be. But he reminds me every day to be a better me. He thinks I'm gentle, kind, and generous, compassionate and strong. Caring, good and sharing, and knowing right from wrong. If he could talk, I think my dog would say these things to me. And the person my dog thinks I am is who I try to be. Live my life most every day the best way that I can. By what I do, that I know where I should stand. But if I ever find myself unsure of what to do, I remember what my best friend thinks, and that will see me through. He thinks I'm gentle, kind, and generous, compassionate and strong. Loving, caring, good and sharing, and knowing right from wrong. If he could talk, I think my dog would say who I try to travel again. And the person mind all things I am is who I try to be. And the person mind all things I am is who I try to be.
Wow. Wow, that is so good. Yeah. What we do, Jim, is at the end of on the last slide, after the little dots, we put who the author of the song is. So, Jim Chaplin. Very good. Well, there was a family who lived on the farm all their life, the mother, the father, and the son, and they decided to take a trip to the Big Apple, New York City. And of course, they ended up at one of the famous tourist attractions, the Empire State Building. And as they were walking in the foyer, they saw these silver doors opening and closing, and they thought, what is that? They'd never seen an elevator before. And as they were standing there watching, looking at the doors, an old woman came wheeling up in her wheelchair. She pushed the button, the doors opened, and she went in, saw her push a button, the doors closed, and then they watched as the numbers lit as the elevator ascended. And then they watched a few minutes later as the numbers were lit, as the numbers were coming down, and the doors opened. And this beautiful, gorgeous, curvaceous, blonde woman stepped out. At which point the father looked at his son and he said, "Son, quick, shove your mother in there." Okay. Today we're talking about, are your loves out of order? And momentarily there, the father's loves were a bit out of order. So we're looking at the book, The Wisdom of Sundays, and David Brooks was interviewed by Oprah on her Soul Sunday program. And he is a New York Times bestseller, and he also is the author of The Road to Character. And so in that interview, he said, thank you so much. Okay. Okay, he said. Oh, okay. So he, there's 2 copies on my desk, and this isn't the one, but that's okay. So, all things work. He said that, so Oprah said, "I love how you say we should rank our loves in highs and lows. Tell me what that does." And he says, that's a concept from the great theologian Augustine. And he asks the question, what is sin? When we use the word sin now, we only use the word in the context of fattening desserts. But in traditional morality, it's the sense that we have something broken. And I don't like the word sin when it's meant to suggest we're dark and depraved inside. But Augustine had a beautiful formula. He said, we sin when we have our loves out of order. I love that. So, what are our loves? Well, these are a few of them. Our loves are spirituality, our pets. We had that beautiful song today. It could be about our time, beauty, the conversation that we have with other people. Our loves can be our family, our partner, truth, travel, money, and work. Your loves might look different. They may include some of those, but these are the things that we say are really important to us. Like these things really matter. And if I were to rank them, we would have an order that we would rank them in. So, how do they get out of order? Well, this is a picture of my Bob and I in Iceland 2 years ago. And I love it when we travel together because we're together. I'll say to Bob, "Oh, we're going to be together every minute for 2 weeks." And he's like, "Okay." But we travel together, you're exploring, you're talking about the adventures, you're in the car together a lot and then staying together. So it's a great time for togetherness. And it's a time when I really get to have my number one priority. My order of love is Bob, my family. And so he's at the top there. But what happens when you get back home? Life, right? We get busy with other things. I'm busy with Unity, with volunteering, with some hobbies, maybe watching some programs, going to the movies. And so Bob sort of gets down in the list a bit until I start to remember, oh, what is really important to me? My daughter Jen in the Bahamas and my friends when we were in Greece a couple of years ago, they're high on my list of what I value, my order of loves. But do I spend as much time with my family and friends as I would like to? No, I don't. So for me, that's about, okay, when we look at this, we need to look at how are we ordering our time. Oh, it went back. Go slowly. Our lives get out of order if we're living a life lacking intention, when we're just going along and we're not really living intentionally and asking ourselves, where do I really want to spend my time? And when we're lacking integrity. And I love this definition of integrity. Doing what we say we will do, even when no one is watching. Yeah, even when no one is watching. Now, it's not just ourselves and our individual journeys that get out of order, but our society is really shifting right now. So David Burks tells us about a few surveys and research programs, and this was a 1950s researchers asked high school sophomores, are you a very important person? So this was the 1950s. 12% said yes. Today, 80%. Students were asked to rank a list of 16 things they would like to have, and fame was on that list. In the 50s, fame was in 15th position. Today, second or third. We have this idea that we want to be famous. Not necessarily that we have anything to be famous about, but we just want to be famous. It's sort of a me kind of society. Then did you know that there's people that chart the use of the words that we use? So there are researchers that will chart. They look at television programs, social media, newspapers, magazines, to look to see the common use. What are the words we're using? Economic word usage is up. Talking a lot less about community and morality, words like kindness, honor, gratitude, humbleness have been dropping over the past generation by 50%. Now that might be hard for us in this room to believe, but we're focused on spiritual things. We're talking about our spiritual life. But beyond these walls, it's not as prevalent. There was an education survey of 10,000 junior high school students. They were asked, what do your parents care more about? You're getting good grades or you're being kind? 80% responded, getting good grades. But there is hope. Does everyone know who this is? So this is a future king of England, little Prince George. And I say there's hope because I was so impressed, and maybe you were too, when you read the story about Prince William and Princess Kate deciding what school he was going to go to. So he's not going to the school that William went to, but he's going to a school where their number one rule is to be kind, and where they discourage children from having best friends because they don't want to hurt the feelings of other children. They focus on sports and arts and academics as well. But I thought, wow. So William and Kate are certainly good role models, and perhaps young parents watching that and hearing about that, it just kind of brings that more to the surface. So is it time to ask ourselves, what do we really love? Where do I spend my time? What do I spend my money on? And do they match up? Someone said if you want to know what you value, or what another person values, take a look at their checkbook to see what they're spending their money on, and their day timer to see where they're spending their time. And I think about this in particular with young children. What do kids want? Do they want the latest toys? I mean, they think they do. Do they want to go to all of these lessons and have every night of the week booked up with some activity? Or is it what they really want is to be with their parents, to spend time with their parents? So as parents, And I know I was busy when Jen was young, but as parents, we say that our family is the top priority, but then how much time do our children really get? Right intention is the second element of the Buddha's Noble Eightfold Path. The Eightfold Path is about our lessening or getting rid of our personal suffering and coming to a place of enlightenment. And so right intention is about treating others and ourselves with kindness and compassion while still living according to our values. Well, Unity has a path to right intention as well, and we would call it our 5 principles. Do we affirm divine intelligence and love in this situation? So whatever we are experiencing, whatever's happening around us, are we affirming that there is divine intelligence and love right there? Do we remember our own divinity and that of other people wherever we are, whatever's happening? Do we take responsibility for our part? In other words, do we know that however the situation, whatever the outcome is, that we have a direct responsibility for that, according to our thoughts and our actions and our consciousness? Oh, this thing is really fast today. Have I aligned myself with God, the universe, and received guidance before I act? In other words, have I gone inside for prayer and meditation in order to be guided? And am I living the truth I know? Our 5th principle is so important. It's fine to sit here and listen, but then we need to put feet to our actions. So Malika Chopra is Deepak Chopra's daughter, and she gives us 6 strategies for living with intent. And you're going to get a copy of this. So using the word intent, the I stands for incubate. Quiet your mind to tap into your deepest intentions. So if you really want to see, this week, spend some time and become quiet. And ask yourself, what is it? What do I really want for myself, for my life? What is my intention? N stands for notice. Become mindful of your thoughts and actions and pay attention to what they tell you and the meaning that they give and the sense of purpose that you can get from them. Look for signs that point you in a certain direction. T stands for trust. Have confidence in your inner knowing and in the messages that the universe gives to you. And allow that knowledge to guide you in setting your intentions. Express. She asks us to write down our intentions, say them out loud, share them with other people, so that will help you to move forward. You've claimed them. How many times have we read that everything has more power if we write about it, if we speak about it, it gives it more power. The next N stands for nurture. To be gentle with yourself as you try to find your way. Intention isn't always a straight path, just like life. It can look like this, up and down and sideways every which way. But giving yourself the opportunity to try and fail is a part of the process. And we have to be gentle with ourselves. And I personally believe that really there is no failure, because whatever shows up is for us. We can learn from it, going back to what we said before. We can learn from whatever shows up in that experience. And the last is, got ahead of myself here. And the last is take action. So once you've identified an intent, or even multiple ones, don't sit and wait for it to magically appear. Instead, take the practical steps that can make each become a reality. So, in my first talk on intention, I shared this quote by Ram Dass. We are all just walking each other home. And home was here, right? We're all just walking each other home. And so, might as well bring that picture up since we've seen it. We can bring the lights down just a little bit. So I don't know if you can see, but this picture is from 2 years ago. And Chuck and Suzanne Semple and myself spent a month they were there a bit longer, in Lesbos, Greece. And we went over to help the Syrian refugees. So they were coming across the Aegean Sea, and sometimes the Coast Guard would go out and rescue them from these terrible rubber dinghies that really were not worthy and they were overcrowded. So we helped to orient them when they came to shore and help them on their journey. So Chuck wore a name tag, Ram Dass. And he would tell people about Ram Dass because he likes Ram Dass's teachings and he's a follower of him. And the words Ram Dass mean servant of God. And I can tell you that certainly when Chuck and Suzanne were there, they were servants of God. So because I know someone who knows Ram Dass, I have had the intention for 2 years to contact her and have her talk to Ram Dass and tell him the story of Chuck wearing the name tag and all that he did and being a fan of his. And so Reverend Mary Onwake is my friend in Hawaii, and I asked her in the last month. I put feet to my intention, and here's what happened. You have to listen very quietly. It's only a 20-second video. Let's see if we can.
Silver, who went to the island of Lesbo and helped Syrian refugees, made thousands of sandwiches, used his own money to buy balls and games for kids, and wore the name tag Ram Dass. So this is from Ram Dass.
For Chuck.
So Chuck, from Ram Dass's hands to yours. So this is what intention is about. It's having an intention and putting feet to it, and then something happens. And so he just wrote in here. To Chuck, namaste, Ram Dass.
That's beautiful.
Yeah. You're welcome. So, yeah, that's a sweet. And we have to take a picture after because he asked for a picture. So why take the trouble to try to live with intention? Why look at the order of why look at the order you are living your lives? Sometimes we just go through life kind of, letting whatever show up, show up. We don't have an intention for the day. We don't have an intention for the year. When New Year's Eve comes along, we think, I'm not going to do another New Year's Eve intention because it just never works out or I forget about it. But the more we live with intention, the greater the opportunity for our lives to unfold the way we want them to. The greater opportunity for us to live with joy and to spend time with the people that really matter to us, instead of the people that perhaps aren't as important in our life. There is a Hasidic tale that speaks to this. There's a great rabbi, and the great rabbi's name was Zazu. And so Zazu was laying on his deathbed, and there were tears streaming down his face. And his followers asked him, "Rabbi, why are you crying?" And he answered, "If God asks me why I wasn't like Moses, I will answer, because I wasn't blessed with the leadership ability and the wisdom of Moses. But what if God asks me, Zuzu, why weren't you Zuzu? Why didn't you fulfill your highest potential? Why didn't you find your inner self?" What will I answer? So I leave that with you. What would you answer if you were asked that same question when you pass over into your next experience of living? Did you live your highest potential? Did you find your inner self? Did you live with intention? So let's take that into meditation. So we become comfortable in our seats. Uncross your arms and legs and just relax. Let your shoulders relax down and take a deep cleansing breath. Close our eyes. And we reflect on that question. If God were to ask us, Lori, were you Lori? Chuck, were you Chuck? Wilda, were you Wilda? Just put your own name in there. Were you who you came here to be? There's a poem by Linda Ellis titled The Dash, and it's about that little line between the date of our birth and the date of our death, and how we live our dash. And you could be dash mid-range, you never know. So what would people say about you when they're reading and talking about your eulogy? And how would you answer that question that will be asked when we pass over? If there's some kind of a review of our life, did you reach your highest potential? Did you find your inner self? Did you listen to the powerful presence that is in you as you, moving through you? Or were we too busy, too preoccupied with unimportant things, and let the important things just drift away, become diminished? Let your shoulders relax down. And reflect on one intention that you could make for today, for this week, that would move you closer to a yes. If you're asked that question, were you you? And we'll become still and just let that answer just float into our mind as we're divinely guided to set that intention. So if you have an idea of what that intention will be, reflect on how we need to show up for that to occur. For many people, we will hear them say, "Oh, that wasn't my intention." So what happened between the intention and showing up out of intention? So what is it that you would need to do this week, or need to say or be, show up as, to live the intention? Know that you're divinely guided by the spiritual power of wisdom that always brings forth the answers when we become still and we listen. And answers are always for our highest good and the highest good of those around us. So you know when you're hearing the voice of Spirit, God, it's always for the good of all. And so we take a deep breath in. Oh, we let it out. And we affirm, I live my life with divine intent today, together. I live my life with divine intent today. And so it is, and so I let it be. Amen.
Hallelujah, 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 hallelujah.
Now it's the time for giving and receiving our tithes and offering to the spiritual community that feeds us. Let us affirm our prosperity together as our ushers pass out the offering bags. If you've been holding an intention card, we ask that you place them in the offering bag as well, and we see those intentions unfolding now. Please affirm by singing our offertory song.
Blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. And so it is. Spirit was, when the Spirit was, the Spirit was, all my fears away. Oh, happy day. Oh, happy day. Spirit taught me how to love. Every day, oh happy day, oh happy day, when the Spirit was, when the Spirit was, when the Spirit was, all my fears away. Oh happy day, oh happy day, oh happy day, when the Spirit was, when the Spirit was, when the Spirit was, all my fears away. Oh happy day, oh happy day, oh happy day, oh happy day.
I keep forgetting to remind our first timers, second timers, that we have intention cards on the back wall when you come in. So you can take that card with whatever intention it is that you want us to hold in prayer and place it in the offering basket, and they'll be held in prayer. So we go to our heart space and we feel gratitude and the joy of giving to that which spiritually feeds us, to this ministry and to all of the people that this ministry touches through our teachings, our presence, and our prayer. And we are grateful, 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 and grateful to our usher teams for doing their work in bringing it forward. Thank you, sweet Spirit. Amen. Amen. So let's stand and sing.
Let there be peace on earth, let it begin with me. Let there be peace on earth, the peace that was meant to be. With God and the Creator, family all are we. Let me walk with each other in perfect harmony. Let peace begin with me. Let this be the moment now. With every step I take, let this be my solemn vow. To take each moment and live each moment in peace eternally. Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me.
Let's take time this week again to focus on looking at what is it that really is important in my life? What do I love? And how am I supporting that with my time and my energy? And maybe things will come into alignment a little bit better with that intention. And so we sing. Protection. The light of God surrounds us. The love of God enfolds us. The power of God protects us. And the presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is, and all is well. Yea, God.
spread the word of what unity can offer. Spread the word of the message that you heard. Spread the word of what it means to you in your life. Spread the word, spread the word, spread the word. Spread the word of all the things we shared this morning. Spread the word that you're surrounded here by love. Spread the word that our doors and hearts are open. Spread the word, spread the word, spread the word. Spread the word to anyone who's lost and lonely. Spread the word. You go forward from this family. Spread the word. Spirit welcomes all who come here. Spread the word, spread the word, spread the word. Spread the word of all the things we shared this morning. Spread the word that you're surrounded here by love. Spread the word that our doors and hearts are open. Spread the word, spread the word, spread the word. Spread the word, spread the word, spread the word. Spread the word, spread the word, spread the word.